appreciate you taking time out of your busy day for me.
Of course.
Last year was a hell of a year for you. Was it your best?
It was technically my best, yes. Technically.
What's the hesitation?
The year before, so 2024, I guess, was my best year. And then I just did slightly better. But it was almost equal, like very minuscule number changes. Like it was pretty much 10 million and 10 million if you want to, round everything together, and about 30 transactions both years. So what I was most proud of is the consistency aspect of that, right? Because with the COVID market, we saw a lot of agents do really, really well, but it was unreal. Dude, when I moved back in 2021 from New York, I had listed a house. Within 20 minutes, we had a full price offer and sold the house. I didn't even put pictures up. I had one picture of like the back of the house, no sign in the yard, no lockbox on the door, sight unseen, full price offer, and that's who we closed with. So like the market then was completely different. You just had to you didn't have to do anything. If you got the opportunity, it was done. So with that being said,
There's skill involved, really.
I wouldn't say the skill aspect, because I'm sure, you still had to be some knowledge, you still had to be knowledgeable. You still had to be able to talk to people. It's just that circumstances of the market changed, right? We're in some of the hardest markets in the last 2 years with interest rates, with the buyer broker agreements, the lawsuits, everything that's happened, even the change of presidency, right? Like that affected us as well. So to be able to stay consistent at a high level, is showing me that, it's possible. It's definitely possible.
Definitely.
It's not a fluke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to just give you one say. I just want to
Make sure.
Yeah. Like talk for 30 minutes and then you realize that they're good. Okay. I'll cut that out.
Do you want me to check yours?
No, I got them both. Checked them. So consistency. You did 10.2 million, 30 transactions, which is my goal.
Oh, nice.
9 transactions in 2026. What would be your advice for me for dealing with that kind of bandwidth?
Oh, to deal with the bandwidth. So you're going to find your limit, right? And just because you have a limit doesn't mean you can't break through that limit. You just have to figure out how to make that limit higher. So I'm a big advocate, even with finances. And I coach all my friends on this too. So for me, and throughout my years of growth, when you met me was probably like the start of my growth. And then I've advanced or stayed consistent each year, which has always been my goal. I want to do the same or better because I'm happy where I'm at now. But as Keegan always says, blissfully dissatisfied. So while I am happy, stops and all the roses, I want more. But what I tell people, even with finance, is you hit a level and get good at it. You don't overextend yourself too much, because then that will cause you to crash and burn, right? If you know you're comfortable taking 5 clients and you try to work with 15, you're going to burn. You're going to start forgetting stuff. You're going to start missing appointments. A lot of agents on our team will call and say, oh my God, I totally forgot about this appointment. And I'm like, no. Like, that's the biggest no. So you elevate, and it may have been really hard to get to that point, but then you just keep going and get good at it, and then you can advance to the next level. So it's increasing your pace at a specific rate, right? You don't want to keep pushing in a higher pace without getting good at that level.
Right.
So delegation's a big thing that helps. You really need to analyze your time. Me and you have sat down and gone over your calendar, and it wasn't fun. We're like, why are we doing this at this time? What are we really doing here? So inspecting, or when you expect anything, you must inspect. So if you expect to be great, we need to inspect what you're doing to make sure we're following those actions to be great. And then either cut out or reorganize what we're doing. So another thing that helps is being very efficient with your time, right? So during our conversation about your calendar, I explained to you what I used to do. Obviously, we're big into social media. That's a big aspect of our generation. So with that being said, we have to edit photos. We have to edit videos. We have to schedule posts. We have to do all that stuff. I plan that in a time that's not a time where I can prospect, talk to people, or gain new business. If it's a time frame, let's say, just for conversation's sake, 8 to 7. 8 to 7 is our prospecting time. 8 to 7 is when we can meet clients at houses. 8 to 7 is when we can dial their phones. We don't want to be doing something like editing a video that we could do any time of the day and taking away from the time that we can actually gain business.
Gotcha. With your scheduling, I'm curious, how has what kind of a priority has the gym been for you? And was that a difficult habit for you to get into?
It's the gym's actually a touchy subject because I go through phases where the gym will sometimes affect my day, right? So to your point, I typically try to use the gym in the morning as a starting point. And I had this conversation with Nick yesterday. It is an hour of time for me before shit hits the fan. Before your phone starts ringing, before there's any fires to have to put out, you get an hour of jamming good music, pushing some weight, taking care of yourself, pushing yourself. And something that I've been implementing more is some cardio. I hate cardio, but if I do something that I hate in the morning, first thing in the morning, the rest of the day is not that bad. You already got something out of the way that pissed you off that you really didn't want to do. So it doesn't hurt to continue to do it throughout the day. When I said it's a crux, though, if you feel as if it interferes with your time. So let's say I miss a day in the morning and I want to go in the afternoon. Just as I mentioned in our, the previous part of this, if I'm going to the gym at 2 p.m., the gym's like a 2 to 3 hour thing. Even if you only go to the gym for an hour, driving there, eating before, getting home, showering, eating again, to, taking your pre-workout, your supplements, like that all takes time. So if I do it at 2, now we're at 3, 4, 5 p.m. So I just took out 3 hours of my working time because I wanted to do something for myself. So to be a high producer, you have to have sacrifice. So it could go either way. It just depends on how disciplined you are and how you want to use your time.
It's interesting to hear you describe the gym as something you hate. Most people that are consistent in the gym are there because they, it's a passion of theirs. They love it. If they don't get that first thing in the morning, their brains are mush throughout the day.
Said I hate cardio. I like to dig stuff up and put it down. I love to move weight, but I've never been a fan of cardio, running, the Stairmaster, anything like that.
Why has that been a new implementation for you?
One, for the discipline aspect, to do something that I don't like. 2, I started doing blood work and really optimizing myself. So besides my schedule, besides habits, like what is going on in my body? We have to inspect our business, look at our lead flow, the whole sales funnel. What about yourself? Everything's a system, right? So, I kept making excuses for stuff. Oh, I'm tired all day because I only sleep 6 hours, or I went to bed at midnight. I should go to bed at 10. It's like, let's get into the nitty gritty of this. And doing my blood work, I was only 7% optimal.
And dig deeper into that. What does that mean? 7% optimal.
Based on the parameters that I, chose in my blood work, only 7% was in an optimal range. I think 30 something percent was in like the range right outside of optimal, like average maybe, and then the rest was all out of range. So I'm on a monthly blood work sample now. So I use this company called Rhythm. It's an at-home blood test kit. It's awesome because you don't have the time to schedule a doctor, go to the doctor, do all that crap. So they send it to you at home. You put a thing on your arm. It takes your blood. They give you a FedEx label package. You just drop it off at any FedEx location, and they put your results online. So after that first thing, I really dove deep into it. Like my cholesterol was really high. I'm like, wow, my heart races a lot. Maybe it makes me a little anxious. Maybe this is why my body temperature is high. So I started to implement things purposefully instead of just throwing noodles at a wall and hoping they stick,
Sounds like a true Italian.
Yeah.
So that's something I've also found success in, is really starting with yourself, taking care of your own mental, spiritual, emotional world. And then from that place of fulfillment and health, serve from that place.
Yeah, people can feel that. When you're off, they can definitely feel it.
Yeah.
So it's very important that you do take care of yourself.
And it's like they say in most sales, all sales is a transfer of emotion.
Yeah.
Right? So
Emotions, energy.
if you're a mess, then you're just transferring that mess onto clients that are making the biggest transaction in the history of their life.
Absolutely.
So that's really cool. I'm curious your story with cars. What got you into race cars, and when did that passion begin for you?
When I was a young kid, my dad was a businessman. He's a financial advisor and an accountant, and he does taxes for people too. So as he got successful, he would buy himself some cars. I remember one of the first cars that I actually remember him having was a Ferrari 348 Spider. So a convertible yellow Ferrari. It was manual. It was so cool. And I mean, I was like, I didn't know anything about the car besides that it was a yellow Ferrari and it made cool and loud noises. But my dad had limited time. As I mentioned, like, to be very successful, you have to sacrifice. Now, you see all these successful people and it seems like they have all the time in the world because they're always out doing something or they're eating, you know what I mean? But they've put in shadow work to get to that point. So by shadow work, I just mean the work that you don't see. You always see fruits of the labor of people, but you don't see the hard work and the harvesting of those fruit.
It's just like social media. You're comparing your behind the scenes to everybody else's highlight reel.
Exactly. Yeah, you're looking at people's highlight reels. So with all that being said, my dad had limited time. So on the weekends, he would take his car out, and I was the first of my brothers to be like, me, I want to go. Can I go with you? Can I go to Home Depot? Can I run to the store with you? Can I go for the drive with you? So it was a way for me and him to connect. We spent some extra time in it, and they're just really, really cool. I don't know. You need advice. As I got older, I like to tell people you have to find a form of a way to express yourself. So my older brother is very into music. He has a band. He plays the drums, he plays the guitar, he plays everything. My younger brother loves to draw. He draws, he paints, he plays video games, he does graphic design. So for me, it was cars, right? I'd customize all my cars. I would make them more of like my personality. And it would allow me, me and you could have the same exact car and my car would look completely different than yours. But we bought the same exact color, everything, and mine would just look different. So I got to put my touch on it. So it's also a form of a way for me to express myself. And also, there's a huge community for cars. So I got to bond and make a lot of friends and people that I call family from it.
Yeah, I see you've been spending some time at the Motor Enclave. Is that right?
Yeah, that video was from a couple of years ago, but I've been a few times.
Okay, all right. I always drive past it on the freeway. And I'm like, wonder what that even is. I haven't never even like seen it before, but it seems really fun.
The Motor Enclave is really cool. So it's actually, you should look into it because it's for us. They sell the garages there. You can buy, they call it like a garage condo. You can't live in it, but it's just a big 2 or 3 story garage and it's just concrete walls, and you can build it out however you want. So I know people that built like bars in theirs. I know people that made theirs into like a mechanic shop. So they also have a racetrack. So if you're an owner, you have more accessibility to that racetrack, but we can sell them.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Nice. What is your dream car?
Oh man,
That you haven't bought it already?
I definitely had not bought it. I actually have a tattoo of the logo of the car on my leg. It's semi-embarrassing, but it's also funny and cool. One of my clients and a really good friend of mine, I was lucky enough to be in his wedding as one of his groomsmen. But the guy that officiated his wedding was his tattoo artist, who's also his college roommate. So during their cocktail hour, they started doing tattoos. So I'm like, I'm first in line. I'll go first, like break bags for everybody. And they had like a flash sheet of little tattoos that he could do. And one of them was a ghost. So I just like, look, dude, I'm going to be a pain in the ass. Can you change it just a little bit? So I showed him this car logo. It's to a Koenigsegg Jesko. It's like a $4 million hypercar. It's like the step above a supercar. It's incredible. Beautiful, like sounds amazing. One of the fastest cars in the world. But their logo is a ghost, and the ghost comes from, they took over the Swedish Air Force base as their factory for the cars. So once the Swedish Air Force retired, they moved in there. They went and visited the car factory and said, hey, we'd love for you to use our logos on your cars. We were the Ghost Squadron. So before UAVs were around, they would fly their jets in the clouds, like right at the lining of the cloud, and be ghosts. So that's why the car company went and did it. Plus, I met my client through cars. we both really love Halloween and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, let me just put a little bit meaning behind this tattoo. It's also a reminder, like, those things exist. Like a $4 million car sounds insane to some people, but you aim for the moon and shoot for the stars. What's the saying?
The move land among the stars.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Nice. So let's change gears a little bit and get into real estate funnery. Meat and potatoes, right? What got you into real estate?
Cars.
Cars.
Yeah. No, mainly because of cars, but there's other reasons to it, which I'll share both. So I was racing a car and I pulled over at a gas station with this guy, and he had got out, he had to get gas, and he started talking to me and my friend. And he's just like, hey, if you ever go to the track, let me know. Like, I just got my car. He had a Camaro and I had a Mustang at the time. So we were like rivals too. I was working ballet at the time. Again, cars, right? I was working a ballet job, but it was at a nightclub. So my shifts would end at 3:30, 4 a.m. I would go to bed, at 5 o'clock. You just ruined, I didn't have a good schedule, and I was trying to go to college at the same time. So I was like, I need some more structure in my life. So I obviously can't have structure with a job like this, or I'd have to have a completely flipped structure and, not do things on normal terms. So I went on Indeed and I found a job for a real estate office. And I was just applying to shit. So I go on the interview to the real estate office job, and he has us in a big room at a conference table, like 10 of us, all get ready to interview. His wife walks in. He's like, oh, I'm gonna send him in here. The guy walks in. It's the guy who I was racing on the street like a month or two ago. And he just points at me. He goes, you drive a Mustang. I'm like, holy shit, you got a Camaro. Like, long story short, interviewed with them. It went great. They did not hire me. But 3 days later, they called me and said, yeah, we hired this woman. She quit. We want to talk to you again. I go back for the second interview, and the wife sits me down in a room kind of like this and goes, are you guys going to talk about cars the whole time? I'm like, no. I think I was 18 at the time, 18, maybe 19. So I'm like sitting there proper, like scared. She's like, you to talk about cars the whole time? I'm like, no, ma'am, like not at all. So you get work done? I'm like, yes. She's like, okay, you're hired. So I was actually the broker owner's assistant. That was from January, and then come April, I decided to get my real estate license.
And how many years ago was that?
That was in 2018. So April 2018, I'll be 8 years of a licensed agent. The other reason I got into real estate though was, working 9 to 5s or working like an hourly paying job didn't sit right with me, because anybody that works an hourly paying job does more work than they're supposed to. I don't know anybody that does less work or the exact amount of work that they're supposed to. You always do more, but you're not compensated for. So I like the fact that I have no ceiling. You can make as much money as you want. It's all reflected in the amount of work that you put in. So I appreciated that the business rewards your actions, and you get the value out of the work you put in.
Right. I always put it as, when you're working that 9 to 5, you're helping somebody else get rich.
Yeah.
But when you're working for yourself, like there's a lot more motivation behind that.
Well, that's it's a tough part about our business. A lot of people get in and they don't realize that you are running your own business. You could be a part of the team. You could be by yourself. You join a brokerage. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's still your own business. So my first early years in real estate, I didn't do that. I was 19, 20, 21 years old, having fun. Like, oh yeah, I miss it. Yeah, it's cool. There was no business aspect about that. And that's kind of what led me to join some teams.
Was there an advantage when you first were hired as the assistant to have that kind of buffer time where you got to experience it a little bit, or would you have just preferred to get your license right away and hit the ground running?
The exposure was probably the best part, to see other agents come in, to see agents that weren't put together very well, to expose me, to show that it's possible, right? Like, it's very hard to have vision if you don't know that it's possible. But if you see that something's possible, it's proven and it's possible, there's no reason you can't do it.
What's been the hardest part for you in this 8 years?
The inconsistency. Yeah, being consistent, sticking to a schedule is discipline is the hardest.
month.
Yeah. Discipline is the hardest skill that you have to learn. And it reflects very, very fast into this business.
What's been one transaction you've either, one of the top 3 of yours in the past 8 years, or maybe of last year, but what's one transaction that was most meaningful to you? And it can't be your own.
I actually hated shopping for a house by myself. It was not fun.
This was a recent time, but I hated it too. I was
Yeah.
the worst client.
It gives you a really good appreciation when you're working with buyers, even sellers. Like you know what it's like now. You know these emotions. I remember texting about my free approval. Like, what's my loan update? The lender's like, stop. Like you know how this goes, just stop. But I would say probably with my friend Kyle, the one whose wedding I was in, so a backstory about me and Kyle: when I had first moved here in 2015, I had joined some car group that I found on Facebook or maybe Instagram. Somebody reached out to me and was like, hey, you want to join our car club? It was like, 10, maybe 12 of us. It wasn't like a real club. We like met out. We met at one location, drove to like a pizza place. We all sat down and had pizza. And I don't think anybody ever met again. But I had met Kyle and a couple other guys that I still talk to from that thing. But, power of social media, man. We added each other on Instagram. And he just saw, that was 2015. I didn't get licensed till 2018. So just, maybe interacting about cars, like, oh man, you're going to this meet, like maybe going to a car meet together. Until I think he bought his first house in 2019. So, 2019 rolls around. We've been friends on Instagram for, 4 years now. He goes, hey man, I want to buy a house. Like, I know you're a realtor. I see you post stuff. Like, I want to buy a house. Will you help me? I'm like, absolutely.
Best question we ever get.
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly what I want. Thank you. I've been waiting 4 years for this. I'm just kidding. So, got him into his first home. At the time, he was a single man. He was by himself. Got him in his first home. He got a great deal on his house. I think he paid like $310,000 for it in 2019. Fast forward to 2022. Was that when we were on Annie and James' team? 22 or 23?
I think they started at the beginning of 23.
Okay, so fast forward to 2023. Come that October, he's been dating this girl for a while. They want to buy a bigger house. So we go then to sell the house he purchased for $500,000. So, I helped him game into a nice investment, and then he ended up buying an $820,000 house. So with just, besides the real estate transaction, right? If you're a good realtor, people are going to remember you in their home. It's a process that you do together. You don't just represent them. You guys do it together. Even though they're the one purchasing it, you're with them every single step of the way. And since we built a good connection from the purchase of his home, we started hanging out more. We started going to more car shows together. We both played games online, so we started gaming together. Just spending more time together. So that thought of using me as his, next realtor never left his mind. It was just when the time is right. Fun fact, his sister's fiance is actually a realtor too, and he still continued to use me. But, like I said,
Loyalty.
yeah, I ended up in his wedding. So once he got married to this girl, ended up in his wedding. I was there for their baby shower. They just had their first kid a few months ago. So to see their progression of life and be a part of it was, you can't put a value on that.
Would you say that's probably been one of the best things about this job is the involvement in people's life?
Oh,
and not just the transaction of real estate, but just real life.
The transaction is the byproduct of the relationships that you build. So I have lifelong friends that, mean the world to me just because they were a lead at one point. I have a guy, his name's Ken. I was there when his wife passed a few months ago. I go to his house for dinner all the time. Me and him actually hang out. He's a 70-year-old man. But we built a great connection. Like, we're friends. We have plans to go to the shooting range in a couple of weeks. Like, it's beyond cool. And without these opportunities, I never would have met him.
Yeah.
He was actually a lead from somebody else that couldn't show him a house, so they gave him to me. So just by chance, hit it off, and now I have a friend for life.
Yeah. I'm curious, something I've been working through in my own brain as far as sales go. I find that I connect best with people who are like me. As a salesman who's trying to sharpen your skills more and more, is your goal to try to connect with more people, like transact with more people who are unlike you? Or is it trying to find the people who are like you the fastest?
The ultimate goal is to be able to be a chameleon. And, depending on how you are as a person, it's not very hard to find common grounds with somebody. Everybody loves music, right? Majority of the people love sports. Like, I'm not even a big sport guy, but I appreciate, people that like sports, and I appreciate how passionate they get about sports. So it's more, can you appreciate somebody's passion and relate to them with it? Even if you don't, like, let's say you don't care about cars at all. To you, it's just a car. There's no meaning to it. If you can appreciate my passion for it, we can get along. So it's really just about supporting and figuring out what they really like, and, just seeing how you can relate to it in some way. There's always a lesson to something. There's always a reason, whether it's bonding time with your family. So if you told me dancing, is you and your family used to go out and dance, and that's how you bond with your family. And I'd be like, oh, cool. Me and my family do this. We go to the movies every Friday when you go out and dance every Friday. But at the same time, we both are doing the same thing. We're finding something that we do on a weekly basis with our family to grow together.
Right.
And we can both appreciate that, right? So you don't necessarily have to be, involved in the same interest as somebody, because there's always a bigger picture.
Right. Right. Something I really respect about you, Zach, is your ability to have skillful conversations. You're always pushing the team, me, myself included, to make more phone calls, and it's evident in your accolades, that you've gotten good at making phone calls, having conversations about real estate. A quote I recently came across was by Tim Ferriss in his 4-Hour Work Week book. He says, "I believe that success can be measured on the number of uncomfortable conversations you're willing to have." How is your success tied to your ability to have good quality conversations on the phone, and how has that progressed throughout these last 8 years of doing real estate?
Yeah, it's progressed a lot. I talk about this all the time. I'm fortunate enough to work with a lot of my friends, or people that have became my friends. And I apply the same thing in the business, even with my clients. That I want you to be my friend at the end of the day. I don't want to be your salesman. I don't want to be your realtor. Like, I want to be your friend. People want to work with who they know, like, and trust. So, I mean, the evolution of my phone calls, the biggest thing that I could say about it, one is repetitions. You have to fail forward. You can't expect to be good at something by doing it not often, right? They say 10,000 hours. You spend 10,000 hours to become a pro at something, to be good at building something. You have to put in the time and repetitions. You have to fail. And like we said earlier, you have to inspect. So if you expect to be good on the phones, you got to inspect your phone calls. The other caveat to this was, I stopped trying to sell people and being salesy. And I'm looking at it as, how can I help you? You called in because you had a problem, right? We have your information because you inquired somewhere. So how can I help you with this problem? I tell all my clients, I want to be your friend that's knowledgeable about real estate. So I'm not here to sell you anything.
In line.
Yeah. I'm your friend that is knowledgeable about real estate. You have a friend that might be a plumber. Even if you don't need to use them, you're going to call them for a question. Or if your client has a question, you're going to call this guy. He's your friend that knows about plumbing. So I'm just your friend that knows about real estate. So, but when you switch that role on the phone of trying to sell somebody, trying to get a deal, to, let me see if I can even help you. I don't even know if it's possible. I don't even know if you need help anymore. Let me just see. If you do need help, cool. What's the problem? Can I help you with that problem? Yes. Okay, we can move forward. No, I can't help you. Maybe I can point you in the direction where you need to go.
Yeah.
So those things I probably, contribute to the bettering of my skills.
Yeah. So it's just framing it in a different way, more helpful.
Yeah, I like the term framing. And I had this conversation with Damien right before I came in this room, since we reviewed his call today during our team meeting. And I said, you said all the right things, but they just need to be framed in a different way. You need to frame stuff to an audience and help people understand it in their way. You can't force something on somebody, but if you can shift it into a way that they understand, you have no problem there.
Right. Last question about real estate I got for you is where you draw your inspiration, or have you identified your why?
Where do I draw my inspiration? So I would say my family. My dad's exposed me to a lot of great things in life. Not that everything's about money or having nice things, but I like them. At the end of the day, I want them. I want to achieve more and more and more. It has nothing to even do about the things. I just want to be better. I want to optimize myself. It's possible. You see other agents do it, like we see on Instagram, social media. Obviously, it's only a quarter of the story, but if somebody else can do it, why can't you? And if you're going to do something, why not put your all into it? So I would say those are probably the biggest inspirations, plus freedom, right? A lot of wealthier people that I've met have put in those shadow hours, as we talked about earlier in this conversation. They put in the hard work. They grinded hard. Like, I didn't see it because it was my dad. Like, I was a kid. I was playing with toys and stuff. But, when I was younger, was I upset? Yeah, he was gone a lot. He was at work a lot. As I got older, I'm like, wow, I understand now that you sacrifice time with your family to be able to give us, things that you never had in your life. So those are probably my biggest inspirations.
I'm curious, do you feel like like your dad sacrificed time with you to give you possessions and toys and whatnot? Like would you have rather had more time with your dad growing up as a kid, or do you just see it now as like, oh, I just respect your hustle?
Um, I'm sure when I was younger, I probably felt like, I just want more time with you, but he always made the time. Like I said, on the weekend, maybe on a Sunday, we would go take his car out and go for a ride and go get ice cream. Like, we started implementing things as a family as well. Like every Friday night, he worked the weekends, but he didn't really have appointments on the weekends. So every Friday night when he was done with work, we'd all go get pizza. Being in New York, like that was, pizza night Friday. So we implemented things to have that time. But definitely now I can respect the hustle because I know what it takes. This stuff is not easy and it's not for everybody. You're not willing to sacrifice. You will not achieve as much as you possibly can.
Yeah. So it sounds like he learned how to be intentional with his time.
Yeah. We spent a lot of very intentional time. It wasn't even about possessions too. It was also experiences. We got to go on vacations. Like, we vacationed in Florida 2 to 3 times a year. We would go to Disney. We'd go to Universal. We had family down here, so we got to see family down here. It gave us the flexibility to do things. But now as I'm older, he doesn't work as much. So he was just here last weekend, Thursday through Monday. I get to spend as much time as I can, but it's funny because now I'm sacrificing the time with him to be able to do that for my family in the future.
Yeah.
So it's funny how the life cycle goes.
It is interesting how like dynamics between, son and father or parents changes as life progresses, right?
Absolutely.
Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
Ooh, it's such a hard question. So, I've recently learned how to vision. Like, I never really had a vision. It would just kind of day by day. Like, yeah, I had thought like, oh, I want to own a airplane, like, but that's not true vision. That's like, I would love to just be wealthy at one point. Ooh, I'd love to be wealthy at one point, whatever. But now I have started to develop the skill of vision. So within the next 10 years, I really like to lead people. I think I was a natural born leader. I see it in my friend groups. I see it in my family. Like, I will take the lead when it's needed, for sure. Or if nobody else wants to do it, I'm there to do it. So I would love to lead a team of some sort. Hopefully, it's here with Paramount Home Group, but you never know where the world's going to take us. So love to run a team. Other people's success brings me happiness. And that's what I learned last year too. I don't care about my own production. You compliment me, other people compliment me in the office. I don't like that. But when you come and tell me like, hey man, I followed my calendar and now I have 3 deals under contract, that's what genuinely makes me happy.
It's cool.
So it's very cool. Yeah. Like, shift is nice.
Nice. So in 10 years, you see yourself as a leader,
Yeah.
having your own team or own brokerage?
Yeah, I want to give back, right? And what's good of what you have unless you give it back. Even when I was a kid and my dad would provide us with these things, I didn't enjoy it unless I could provide it to my friends. I wanted my friends to come over and experience what I experienced too. There's no point in being successful by yourself. It's not fun. It's not easy. You won't get as far. So to be able to build something where other people's success is helped by me is what I want to do.
That's awesome. If you could go back and talk to Zach prior to getting your license, what advice would you give yourself?
Take this shit seriously. Take it seriously, dude. Let's say I started in 2018. I moved to New York from 2020 to 2021. I didn't take this seriously till about mid 2022, like right before I met you.
Mm.
So I wish I would have just applied myself more to get seriously, studied more. What's funny though is subconsciously I did. I still use things today that I met from my first real estate broker, whether I realized it at the time or not. So it's weird how you can still pick stuff up, whether you intentionally do it or not.
I relate with that. And I want to go back to our previous conversation on your bandwidth
Yeah.
getting expanded. Because I feel like those kind of intermingle. At least that's been my experience since getting my license in 2023, where it's like I know especially here with Paramount, we have all the tools, we have everything we need to be successful. But I've been telling James and Annie this for the last like 2 years. I've only scratched the surface of like what I know my capability is, but it's just been this series of like learning how to expand my boundaries and my bandwidth and just like so I take it serious, but I'm also like I know I'm half-assing it kind of. I know I can do better. But I guess there's a balance there, if that makes any sense.
Listen, everybody's definition of success is different, right? There's no secret to this business. If you talk to any higher producing agent and